All right, welcome, folks, to the Sioux Sports Monday Night Edition. I'm here, as usual, with Tony Bonifero, who's just off camera right now, and Dominic DeLuca. Tonight we have a special guest, a big contributor in the Sault Ste. Marie football scene, Jim Corelli. Now he's a ref. He's been a player, a coach, and he's done a lot. We'll talk to him about that right now. So thanks for joining us, Jimmy.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Now, Jimmy, you didn't grow up in the Sioux.
Nope.
You were born in where, Sudbury?
I was born in Sudbury, Ontario, way back in the day, and my parents moved here back in 1980, I believe. Wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I kind of followed them. I didn't want to come, but I came and followed them, and I started working in the healthcare. I worked in the emergency department at Sudbury General, and I followed here and worked in the emergency department here as what was known back then as an orderly. I worked mostly night shift. And then went on to, I think, an illustrious career in the healthcare business as a forensic pathologist assistant, but I had to get schooling and everything. But that's how I got here, yeah.
Yeah, now, when you were in Sudbury, Jimmy, did you play high school football there?
I played high school football, yeah. And I always wanted to go with the Spartans, but never had the it was really Sudbury High dominated. And I didn't go to Sudbury High. I was at St. Charles, and then my last 2 years I went to Nickel District. I transferred, and they really, it was kind of like if you didn't go to Sudbury High, you weren't going to play for Mel Ricker and Sid, right? So they always asked me to, but I never did.
So then, when you moved to the Sioux, what was? Do you remember the first year that you played for the Steelers? What was it? 83, 84?
I think it was 84.
84?
Yeah. The years when we were lean and mean, like, and when I say lean, I mean we didn't win anything, but we were pretty mean.
Yeah, and I remember I came to play. I think it was 86 or 87, the last year before they folded.
Yeah.
And I remember you being there. You were a pretty intimidating guy back then at D tackle. I remember the first time I saw you, Jimmy, and you wouldn't even know this. You were working out at, I think it was Gold's Gym. You were working out with Louis Casola, and you guys were loud and having some fun, and it was intimidating back then. But
it was fun.
You were a good teammate back then, and we had some good times.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed that time in my life too. It was a lot of fun. The Steelers back then.
Thank you. That's very kind words. Thank you. I enjoyed every minute of it. And you know what the best is? What they say about all sports: your friends are always your friends, eh?
Absolutely. So then you start playing. You finish playing. The Steelers fold. We're all done playing at that time. That was the last time I played too. And there's nothing going on. What's your next move after that? Do you get into
my next move?
You start reffing?
I went to coach with back with Marty Smith back with the St. Mary's days back in the I think late 80s, early 90s. It was the old gang: Marty Smith, Jimmy McLean, Richard Monu. It was a lot of fun back then, and I coached for about 4 years. I coached the Squeenia brothers and Alpino and all those names from in the past, Bruni, and it was a lot of fun. And then the kids came along, and it's hard to coach when you have young ones, right? I don't know how you did it, Jim. Congratulations. It was really tough, and work was tough. Work was really busy, so I got into refereeing back in 84. I mean 93.
93. Well, I did it, Jimmy, the same way you did it, with help from my wife, right? That's what you do back then, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I know you reffed, and we'll go back to the reffing in a second. Then you went back to coach later on.
I went back to coach. I went back to coach. I ref for a couple of years, but I really missed the coaching. I coached the minor league. Remember, I coached minor league with Rob Grev, and I really missed it. So they asked me to coach at St. Mary's again. So I came out, did 1 year junior, and then I went back to senior with Marty, and we won the Ontario, whatever it's called. Yeah. And then I wasn't having much fun, and my son was playing then, and you know what it's like when you coach your son. You see all the little mistakes, but at the same time, if anybody says anything about him, you get all upset, and it wasn't a conducive environment back then. So I felt that he should be on his own, so I went back to reffing.
Yeah, I mean, and you're a fan. When I think of you, Jimmy, I think of you as a family man first. I know you're a proud dad. I know you're proud of Brandon, who went on to play at
and my daughter.
And you were proud of Brandon, who played at Waterloo, and your daughter, who's a very good athlete, good runner. Now she's doing triathlons and
triathlons.
stuff like that. So I know that's the biggest thing for you is
Yeah.
you're a family guy. And
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
great. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
when you get into reffing at that age, Jimmy, then I'll hand it over to Bono. When you get into reffing at that age, who's running the refs at that time? Who's around?
Oh.
Is it still the same old? I mean, really, Jimmy, we haven't had a lot of young refs in a long time. It's
No,
basically you guys
back
forever.
then, these names might ring a bell. Ron Urain,
Yeah,
you know, God rest his soul. Steve Wazinski,
yeah.
you remember Steve?
Piper.
Rick
Piper was around.
Wazinski,
Yeah,
Piper.
yeah,
There's a couple of guys, but they've come and gone. You know,
yeah.
unfortunately, yeah. There's not been very many the young people.
Have things changed a lot in the refereeing world, Jimmy? There's just basically go out there, do the game, and that's it. Are things really changed a lot or no?
In what way do you mean, Jim?
Is it harder to ref? Is it more political now? Is it different? Is it just the same thing for you? You just go out there, do what you do, and that's it.
It gets harder to become an official.
No, is it harder to be an official? Is it more to
God,
it?
we could talk about that for an hour, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could.
Some guys are able to. No, I don't think anybody can really shut it out. Really, it's getting hard to be an official. It's getting harder. Don't forget, there's only 10 of us, I think, and 7 of us are over the age of 60.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guys are so much faster. So it's getting harder to keep up with them. It's getting harder from a abuse point of view. It's getting really tough.
More so with are the kids a little bit more talkative now, Jimmy?
The kids are slightly. It's more from the fans now.
Yeah. And the Canadian football game is tough. I mean, the rules are really tough to know. I mean, I think I do a decent job as a coach of knowing them.
Yeah.
But not like you guys. There's a lot to it. It's a complicated game.
Yeah. I think what the biggest problem is being on a border town. We're so inundated with American football, so that when you make a call on the Canadian Football League, they don't understand it from the fan point of view. So they start yelling at you and stuff like that. And they he's outside of the pocket. Well, there's no such rule as that, or intention. We don't have that. So
Yeah.
it's hard. That way, it's hard.
It is hard. So I'll hand it over to Bono. Bono has done some reffing in the past.
He has done some official. He's the best dressed official out there.
Yeah. And he's talked a little bit about that, how tough it is to do. So I'll let him ask you a few questions. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bono.
no worries.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy, for doing this. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
I kind of come at it from a different angle because I coached for so long growing up and kind of grew up coaching. And then I kind of made the switch over to an official. And I really got to see the game from the other side. And I had an absolute blast. It was completely different. Can you kind of talk about the pregame routine and what goes into that? And just kind of talk about what the officials do, pregame to kick off, just to kind of ready themselves for the game. Because it's a lot of things that I don't think a lot of people realize.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we do is we decide which player we're going to pick on that game. No, I'm just kidding. That is a fallacy out there, people. We try to arrive. We want to arrive at the game 1.5 to 2 hours pregame. And at first, we just want to talk, banter, what's going on, and then we go over our pregame routine. And the pregame routine is usually run by the head referee. And what we discuss is go over any new rules or anything we got to, know about. Usually we already know the new rules, so they come out once a year, but we still go over them to rehash them. And then we start with our positioning. We'll discuss with each official what he's going to do, just say on the kickoff, or what's he going to do on a run play or on a passing play, and then we'll go over some of the rules just to reinforce. This is what we're looking for, right? So it's a quite involved routine. And then a half hour to 40 minutes before the game, we go out on the field and inspect the field to make sure all the safety stuff is in place. The referee and umpire will meet with the respective coaches, especially when you have out of town players, out of town coaches. Will talk to them about if they have any special rules, such as sneak plays or special kickoff plays, so that we're in position, so we don't screw it up. we'll talk with both coaches about that. We'll go back. We go back to our respective dressing rooms. The referee and umpire will go over anything we need to know about the respective teams, and then we'll come out as a group and ready for the game. So, and then at halftime, we have a halftime meeting. We discuss if we made a mistake, what's going on out there. And at the end of the game, we have a post-game meeting to go over any little mistakes or errors or how the game went. Yeah.
So you've been doing this a long time, and obviously, you've been on the receiving end of some banter from coaches and those types of things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this as a two-part question. The first part is internally, what's going through your mind when a coach is giving it to you for a call that potentially you might have messed up? Like, do you ever, how do you kind of deal with that, and how do you deal in those situations internally and then outwardly? How do you respond?
If I mess up a play, and I think Jimmy can attest to this, or any coach that I've ever refed, I first will discuss it with my fellow officials, and I personally will go over to that coach and say, you know what, I screwed that call. I'm going to endeavor not to let it happen again. I will tell them that. Internally, my stomach is churning because you have the potential of ruining a whole game by one mistake. However, if I'm not made a mistake and I'm right and the coach is really giving it to me, I know the coaches are all volunteers in high school, and so they have a right to say, but they have a point. You come to a point where you've crossed the line, and that's when we can flag them for a penalty for abuse, right? Yeah. But if I make a mistake, I'm the first one to admit I made a mistake. I will always do that. I will also tell the player that I made a mistake.
Yeah. And that's absolutely huge. And that's kind of what I learned when I was doing it too, right? Yeah. Football, I was thinking about this. Football is one of the very few sports out there where there can be an infraction that happens and the play continues, right? In hockey, in basketball, and other sports, when there's an infraction, we blow the whistle. Yes. And when I was officiating, something I want to get back into, but I remember there was a few times I threw the flag and then blew the whistle at the same time, just because it's instinctively you think the play is supposed to stop. So, you were great with that, and I kind of took that advice, and I completely agree with you. Explain your mistake and things kind of, and coaches are more understanding.
Yeah.
So, Jim,
they're not so much. They'll still give you the beans, but what else can they say to you?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So you ref 4 levels of football. You do Sioux minor football. You do high school. Yeah. You do Sioux Sabercats, and you've done, or the OVFL, sorry, and you've done the Sioux Steelers. Yeah. I hate to ask you to rank them, but I won't ask you what's your least favorite. But if I were to ask you what are your 2 favorite levels of football to officiate, what would you say?
The OV or OFC in the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why?
I love doing minor league. Don't get me wrong. I love doing minor league, but minor league, sometimes you're here for a long day, and I just find, and I don't want to say this be bad, but some coaches are using minor league to go to the NFL. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? And I love the OFC OVFL, and I love high school. Yeah. And I've had the opportunity to do Ontario championships and stuff. So it's been great reffing with other guys and stuff from Southern Ontario and reffing with CFL guys. And it's been great. It's been fantastic.
So you mentioned earlier on too, that, the harassment has really taken a toll, right? And kind of, and I get it, right? When you're being yelled at every game for every little thing, what's one thing, if you had an opportunity to talk to the fans and kind of give them your side of it, what would you say to that parent who is just constantly up there criticizing and yelling?
I have a family too.
Yeah.
And I left my Ferrari in the garage at home.
Yeah.
In other words, I have a family too. Yeah. And we're just trying to make sure that these young men and women get to play a sport, because without that, you're not sitting in the stands.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think one thing, I'm going to butt in here for a second. I think one thing people forget, Jimmy, is I think people think that you guys referee for money. I think people think that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, us us as the coaches and volunteers, we know
I
better
know.
than that. But I think
Yeah.
the fans think that sometimes, that you're out there, you're getting paid huge bucks, and you're getting rich off it, and it really can't be further from the truth, right?
Exactly. I should tell you, we do get paid.
I know that, yeah.
But a lot of it has to go towards, we have to pay insurance.
Yeah.
We have to pay for our own uniforms, and we donate a good part of our money to different charities, which people don't understand. So,
Yeah.
you know, we don't go out and party with our money. Trust me.
Yeah. So let's have a little fun here, Jimmy. And if you want to pass, you can say pass.
Go ahead.
But what's your biggest, or sorry, what's your biggest pet peeve about Jim Monaco as a coach? So we're gonna run over some coaches in Sault Ste. Marie.
I got it right off the bat.
Okay.
I'm not the head coach.
Oh, all right.
And then he continues to tell us everything, but he's not the head coach. But we can only talk to him.
Fair enough. Okay.
That's good there, Jim.
When I was a coach, what's
He's
your
right.
biggest
That's
pet
why I'm
peeve
laughing.
about me?
Well, you want me to really say this on the air?
Go ahead.
We're not very good. We're brutal, and then you go out and crush a team by 30 points, and you win the championship.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Biggest pet peeve about Tom Annett.
I got to really think on this one. The biggest pet peeve about Tom Annett, God, there's a few. Biggest pet peeve about Tom Annett, I'm trying to think, but it's always he knows all the rules. Like, he knows the rules before you know them.
Yeah.
But then you got to explain to them. That's Tommy. I mean, I love Tommy. I love all the coaches, but that's his thing. He knows more about the ruling than we do sometimes.
Yep. All right. Ashton Young.
Who?
Ashton Young.
Big Ashton, eh?
Yeah.
Just like, if you're calling a timeout, get out here before the timeout's over.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's Ashton.
Yeah. And then obviously you've done, so thanks for that. That was just something fun I wanted to do.
Yeah, no worries.
So one thing I also wanted to ask you about was, you know, when you're officiating a game, like, what are some of your best memories? So if I were to ask you right off the top of your head, Jim, what's your top memory as an official? What would you say?
Oh, my top memory as an official, I think, was doing the Canadian Championships. Yeah. When the Sioux Steelers won, who did they beat? They beat that team from out west. That was a pretty big thing. Yeah. Also doing my first Ontario championship, high school championship. Yeah. That was pretty amazing. Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah. That's pretty memorable.
What's the one thing that people don't understand about an official?
What they don't understand about us?
Yeah, what the casual fan. What's the one thing a casual fan doesn't understand?
We put a lot of work into our game. Yeah. We go to a lot of clinics. We do a lot of online clinics. I think Carl and I and a group of us have probably done about 10 clinics since March. We're constantly testing each other. We'll have meetings about different things, and we're just there to make sure that people get to play the game that we all love. But we put a lot of work in it. We just don't show up and just go through the motions. We put a lot of work into our game. All
right, last question for me for now, and I'm sure I'll have some more. But has there been? I mean, listen, I played Steelers. I played all those levels. I've seen. And I know how crazy those games can get. Yeah. What was the one game, or was there one game where you legitimately were concerned as an official that the game could get out of hand?
We were playing. Sioux Steelers were playing Montreal. Yeah. It was like gangland. It was scary. In fact, I had one guy from Montreal. He must have been 250 pounds. Run right at me and run me right over. And he even laughed about it after and said, "Did you see me take that guy out?" They had guys on the Sioux Steelers sideline that I thought there was going to be a war. And there should have, and the people on the sideline on their side, it was like it was out of control. That was a scary game. Like, I didn't know how we were getting out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
how do you deal with a situation like that?
Run fast.
That's awesome.
No, you just maintain your cool. You know where you always back your like if one guy went into a bench, two or three of you go into the bench. You back each other up. You're a brotherhood, and that's what you did, and you looked out for each other.
Yep.
That was a scary game. I'm not going to lie to you. That was scary.
Yeah. Dom?
Okay. Killer, I got to just well, first of all, I'm glad we're not you're not a hockey ref, because I can imagine what you would have said.
You'd hate Dom. So.
Oh my God, Killer, you would have given me the gears.
No, I wouldn't have.
No, I know. Hey, I got to ask this question though, Jim. And when you think about you guys, you talk about your pregame routines and what you guys go over. Now, how difficult is it? And even if you're not in a small city, big city, small city, whatever, but when you get used to like coaches' tendencies and maybe players and how do you go about it and try to stay as unbiased as possible when you know, like you talk about saying, well, you got to keep an eye on this guy, or we know the way this coach is. We got to be just aware of certain. Like, do you guys talk a lot about the actual individuals, or is it more just like you said, routines with rules and whatever else? Like that must come up at some point when you're looking at.
If I was to say to you that we don't talk about individuals, I'd be bold-faced liar.
Yeah,
I'm being honest, right?
Yeah,
we will talk about individuals, about maybe their tendencies or maybe we have to keep an eye on a guy, but at the same time, we go in there unbiased. What happened in the past game, past the game. But we know some guys are hotheads, so we might have to look at them because they might. There has been guys in the past that have went out. We knew that they had the potential to injure people, so we would keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, what happened in that game happened in that game, and we don't worry about it. We try to be as unbiased as possible. We're only human. It does happen, but I've had players come up to me and said, I said, don't worry about it. Last game was last game. I don't care. Or coaches, So we try to be
It is very interesting just to know where you guys are coming from, because again, I'm as a coach and stuff, I'm saying, like, when you see a referee, you're saying, from our point of view, I'm saying, oh my God, I go, here comes this guy. Like, I'm sure I'm in for it, whatever else. But you said, you guys know yourselves. You're going to try to be as unbiased as you can, like you said. But again, things happen in the game. People get heated, and you try to forget it. So the other thing I wanted to ask you too,
hello,
in the years that I've had a chance to coach.
I lost you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened here because somebody jumped in. I'm trying to get it back. Oh, I'm back. There we go.
Good.
Yeah. So you're going on, Dom? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just in terms of something for me is maybe communication. Like there's been refs over the years in hockey where I felt like there was never communication. Like I see a guy like yourself on the football field, I'm thinking right away, this guy, listen, you love to talk to, and I'm sure you probably have great communication skills and even that sense of humor. And I feel like at some point there are referees that just get it. They can talk, they can keep it at a certain level and get through the game. But there's others that you can't talk to. So, like, where would you put yourself in that category?
I think I'd be way up there in the communication point of view, sometimes to a fault. Some of the games I officiate run longer than possible because I have a tendency to listen to the coaches. And I will tell you, I talk to the players a lot.
And that's
like
great.
I'll tell players sometimes, hey, I could have thrown a flag on that. Watch what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or that's pretty close. Or if a quarterback throws the ball away and guys are coming at him, I'll yell, stop. He's gone. It's gone. Like I'll communicate all the time.
Yeah,
I do that. And as far as us officials, we communicate with each other constantly. Yeah. But I do have a tendency to let my games run a little too long because I'll let the officials, the coaches talk a little bit more.
Yep.
And I'll talk with them more. I'll give them more of a talk. Like I don't ignore them because they have put a lot of time into coaching, hours and hours on the fields in practice. So sometimes they might want to get their, they might want, they could have bad at their wife or something, and they just want to take it out on somebody. So
that's right. Well, and again, like you just said, I think you all have your own styles, but it's always nice to know that there is somebody that'll be out there and you're able to talk to. I know as coaches are always saying, you know what, I hope I can just kind of keep it as that ability to go back and forth and a little bit of banter, not worry about getting called, or like you said, football being flagged or whatever it is. So yeah, that's just something.
I will say this, and I might be wrong, and I might get a lot of comments about this. In football, we only do one game, and most of us are up here in the north, so we don't have a chance of going on they won't, even though we can all probably coach, we could all ref at the university level, because of our geographic location, they won't pay for us to go down there, which is kind of BS. But we know that we can't. So I could be wrong. We ref for the love. We're not trying to promote ourselves. We don't have scouts in the stands. We're not trying to get to the OHA, and that could get in trouble, or, you know what I mean, to the next level. So, sometimes guys, they get a little carried away, right? I've seen it down in Southern Ontario with officials that are trying to get to the OUA, which is the university ball, or to the CFL. Some of them can be pretty hard to communicate with. It's their way or the highway. Yeah. I mean,
That's
I'll probably get in trouble for that, Dom, but I had to say it.
That's okay. That's all good to me.
I know. As coaching down south, you can't talk to those guys like we can talk to here, and I don't know if it's because I know you guys, or is it? I think it's more so that you guys are more patient, because I see road teams talking to you guys too.
Yeah.
But when you go down south, a lot of times they don't want to talk to you at all. They don't want to answer your questions. And not aside from yelling, I like to ask a lot of questions. That. And they don't always want to answer them. And I think that's a tribute to our referees, and that you do communicate with us a lot better.
The other problem is a lot of those guys will do 3 games in a day.
Yeah, that's true.
That's wrong. That's outright wrong.
Yeah. And I think another thing, Jimmy, I think when the question is what happened, a misconception about the referees, I think a big thing is the personal side of it, and how sometimes guys aren't having a good day, and it's the same as a coach. No. I go to a game every day, and I say, what, I'm not going to yell at the refs today. I really have tried not to yell at refs for a long time now. I did a lot when I was young, but sometimes you're as a coach, you're having a bad day, you're in a bad day, and you yell at the guy, and it's the same with you guys as refs, right? Some days you just don't want to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now me and Bono and I got an argument, actually over soccer. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a sport though.
I know it's not a sport, and I know you don't like it either, but
it's a theater. It's a video game with snipers.
I love it.
Anyways, there's a call in one of the games, and Bono said it decided the game. Basically, our argument came down to the fact that I said, I don't think referees can decide a game. I don't think one call can decide a game. I think ultimately the play of the game, the teams, they decide it. Yeah, there can be some bad calls that have a big influence in the game, but to me, they don't decide the game. What's your feeling on that?
I think referees don't mean to decide a game. I think they just follow the rules, the letter of the law, and they just make the calls based on what the players do, right? Their actions in the bottom line. Can a referee call a game? It probably can happen somewhere along the line. If a guy really wants to, you could throw a game pretty easily. I could eject 3 players just for your top players like that. You know what I mean? Because kids will swear, right? And, they'll just swear to themselves or to their teammates, not to anybody else. Well, language is an objectionable conduct. I could throw 3 of those on him just for swearing, and he's out of the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. But no one's going to do that. Players, they decide their own actions. You're right. It's not a referee can't decide the game, although many people believe it. I don't think a referee can decide a game.
And that's what I think. That's what I think. And another question I have, and I'll pass it over to Bono. This is I think it's an interesting question. When you watch a football game, you've worn, you're a Patriots fan like me. When you watch a Patriots game, and you've worn every hat, you've been a player, you've been a coach, you've been a referee. Do you watch the game like a referee, or do you watch? I do.
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I make a lot of calls at my house.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of things that people don't see. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the one thing is when I'm at a live game, I get there early. I watch everything the officials do for warm up and how they go about their business. I watch it all.
You ever throw the flags around, Jimmy, in your house? How
they throw the flags. Yeah. How they throw the flags. Absolutely. That's an art, Dom, to throw a flag.
I know. Some of you guys are wild. Pick a couple up the head or the eye, and
I could hit a fly on a gnat's bum.
The ultimate flag artist is Donnie Chow.
Yeah. That's why Carl won't fly into the Sioux anymore. Too dangerous. He almost had to ditch the plane once. So they don't have good radar here. So he just flies and then he gets someone else to fly him in. He's not combat qualified.
So that would take him down too.
Oh, it would take him down.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I want you to talk a little bit about the guys that do it with you. I mean, you've been doing it with guys like Link, with Grev, Donnie Chow, Carl for a lot of years. Kind of talk about that, the camaraderie that you guys have as a group and just, just how you guys are off the field.
Oh, we communicate quite a bit. We talk to each other. I think we're pretty close. We don't see so much with the COVID. We try to get together 2 or 3 times a year, and we'll try to do. We're starting more and more to do like monthly meetings to go over things. But yeah, we're all pretty close. We're all concerned about each other. Whenever one person is sick or hurt, we all come together on it. So yeah, we're all pretty close. There's only 10 of us, right? So.
Yeah. And it's funny. One thing I wanted to say, Jim, before I pass it on here is, you know what? And I was guilty of this when I was younger too, right? Yeah. A lot of times coaches will assume that because there's certain affiliations with certain schools or, with, certain officials went to a certain school or coached at a certain school, that games are going to be biased and that they're going to kind of favor that team. What would your response be to those people?
That's a poppycock. For all you young people, that means BS.
Yeah.
Everybody has moved on. I coached at St. Mary's. You know how many people said, I'm not even from the Sioux. So when somebody says, when I'm doing an out-of-town team and they go, oh, you're from the Sioux, you're a homer. I said, I'm actually from your hometown, Sudbury. So, you know what I mean? Like, they just brought me in here for this game. I don't. Yeah. It is hard, though. It is hard because when you're doing out-of-town teams, a lot of the kids know you.
Yeah.
And you really got to say, hey, you don't call me by my first name. You call me sir. And some guys, oh, you're calling you sir. Yeah, you got to call me sir. You can't call me Jim.
Yeah.
Or you can't call me Rob or Carl. Yeah. No, we're not attached.
It's funny you say that, Jim, because that was one thing that it actually took me to be an official to actually understand that. And a quick little story about me is, obviously I was at St. Mary's for a lot of years, and then I was forced to move on, not necessarily under my own terms. So I had a little bit of animosity towards that St. Mary's junior team.
Absolutely.
I ended up having to ref a game of the St. Mary's junior team. Yeah. And it was funny to me that as soon as I stepped on that field in that capacity, how nothing mattered. Absolutely nothing mattered. You just wanted to do the best job, and you wanted to call the fairest game possible. Yeah. And that moment really changed that perspective from me. And I think that that's something not a lot of people get to think about or hear. What do you think about that?
Well, Jim can attest to this. I actually was coaching St. Mary's Senior and had to ref junior St. Mary's games.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the games was my son was playing for St. Mary's Juniors. So I called the coaches personally and said, listen, we're so short. I have to do this game. I can tell you I'm going to put myself in a position where I won't be anywhere around my son. And they said, your integrity, don't worry about it. And I actually, you are my son. So. And I had, so it's a tough, and when you only have 10 guys, it's tough, because you know everybody, and you know what? We all go through that in the beginning. I know I've coached officials that when they first started were a little bit more not as impartial, but they've learned as they go along. They get influenced because their son's playing, but no, we pretty well put the binders on when we get out there.
So, Jim, before I wrap up, I just wanted to, before I pass on to the other guys, I just wanted to say how much, you and I have had plenty of interaction over the years. Some positive, some not so positive.
That's okay.
I know, but that's what I always appreciate about you guys, was you always kind of treated me the same, and regardless, off the field, on the field. And I still remember when me and Tyler Belanger first started coaching, we coached against you guys in our first year. And you guys were beyond supportive of Ty and I. We had no idea what we were doing, and you guys answered any question, you and Rob, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
for all the time and for all the effort and all the energy that you've put in and all the sacrifices that you've made, we really appreciate it. The Sioux's really lucky to have you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I think the Sioux's lucky to have all of us, not just me.
Yeah. Jim, Dom.
Thanks.
Dom, you have anything? I got one more question. Dom, you have anything?
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim, there's one problem we have in this city right now, and I don't know the answer either, and I don't know if you guys do. And you said it a few times already tonight. We only have 10 officials, and it's hard to get the young guys in. And you guys are not getting any younger as referees. Actually, I saw Rob Grev today, and we were talking about this.
Yeah,
we were saying how old a lot of the guys are now, and how do we get young officials? Is there a way to do it? Is there? I mean, the problem is the guys like your son and the guys that play university ball, they want to coach, and I get that. They want to
coach, yeah.
And we need them coaching desperately too. How do we get guys into officiating? Is there an answer? You guys must talk.
Yeah, we got it. Like, we're losing guys like Peter Ricci, who would ever, guys like that could advertise this for us. The other thing is, and I plead for all you people out there, the reason we can't get officials is because of the abuse. These young guys see the abuse that we take, and they hear their parents or their friends' parents, and they go, why should I? We've had young guys come out, and they last like a week. Yeah. Why should I put up with that? They didn't want to put up with that. True. You're turning around, and you see a 40-year-old man or woman screaming at the top of their lungs. They don't want to put up with that. And then I don't know what the other answer is, but I'm hoping that kids hear this and someone, like, we've had one come out, right? We've had Brandon Hazelton. That guy we're pushing to go right to the CFL. He's that good. He's got that much talent. Yeah. Yeah. And he's young. The only problem, he lives up here in the Sioux, so we're pushing for him to get into the OUA, like into the university stuff and we gotta advertise more. Like, we gotta push. We gotta do clinics or, bring some kids out, especially in minor league. Get them in the minor league and doing some games. But at the same time, you got to be. Unfortunately, you minor league can't just grab a 14-year-old and say officiate, because you have to be certified, right, for your insurance purposes. So we got to get kids. They got to take a level 1 course, which is pretty simple, And then as they move on, they get level 2 and level 3, and level 4 is like CFL. So, but yeah, that's what I think we have to do.
I mean, it's hard for us even during the summer.
I know.
At the Sioux minor games to get 3 guys to come and grab a stick.
I know.
We pay them $10 a game or whatever. And
I know.
We have to announce it 20 times before somebody goes.
I know.
And you know it better than anybody. We can't even start the game until somebody
goes.
So
I know, it's frustrating.
It is frustrating. So
one thing I want to say before we close off is, I don't know if you were going to ask me what's the biggest change I've seen. I'm going to tell you what the biggest change in football is, and it's going to go out there to all you people out there in computer land. The biggest change is player safety. I've never seen it become more apparent than in the last 5 years. We still remember the old plays where you would come back and just crush the guy who wasn't looking, and you blocked them, and all the fans and the players and the coaches. The only people that weren't cheering were the parents, who had to probably spoon feed them for the next 2 months. Yeah. So we've gone to the blindside block and late hits and all that. And it's really like becoming almost to an ejectable point of view. You can be ejected for it. And that's the biggest thing. And what it goes, and I ask everybody to look this up, it's called Rowan's Law. All coaches, all officials have to be aware and signed off on it. And it's a concussion protocol law. And it stems from a young girl, I think she was 20, 21, in the university level playing soccer, and she got a concussion, and without going to a doctor, they just said, oh, she's good to play, and she succumbed to brain injury, which if they wouldn't have let her play, she would have been fine. And in the past, you'd get your bell rung, and the coach would say, oh yeah, I'm fine, he's fine, let's put him out there. Well, we don't do that anymore. No, you got to get some. We can, as officials, say we're not letting him back in the game, which we have done. So I think that's the biggest change I've seen in the sport of football. I don't know what it's like in hockey, Dom, but in football, it's pretty strict now.
Yeah, it's a lot more strict, like you were saying, with again, even us guys now being aware, doing more clinics, and having us being even our trainers for sure, they're put on the they're not on the hot seat, but they got to be really aware of what's going on. And anything we see, any shots to the head, anybody that gets hit, it's the same thing now. So you're going to take the player's safety into consideration first and foremost. So.
It's funny too. I know as the executive of Sioux Minor football, a lot of times you and Bono, you know this. You come over where the symptoms of dehydration are very similar to the symptoms of a concussion, right?
Yeah.
And the guy will say he has a headache and he's lethargic and stuff like that. And we will shut a guy down. And you know, chances are that he's only dehydrated. He gets a couple drinks, he can go back in. Yeah. But we don't even take those chances anymore. It's not worth it.
Jim, if he's dehydrated in a game, you can't rehydrate him.
And it's just
you can't.
Not worth it. It's not worth it.
You can pour 30 glasses of water, it won't work. It's too late. You got to just cool them down.
The one problem you have with that now is that kids that are, I don't want to say smart, but kids that know what's going on, know that they say if they say I got a headache, they're not going to be able to play anymore, and they won't necessarily tell you, right? That's one problem, but I don't know what you could do about that.
You know how many times I talked to my son on the phone after a game in university, and he'd have a booming headache? Like, it scares me. It scares me. But I don't know, but we try to keep an eye on it. We'll yell and we'll penalize. The only problem is sometimes you get certain individuals thinking that was a clean hit, right? And you're just like, really? The guy beside you's son is unconscious.
Yeah, the crackback block is a hard penalty as a coach.
Yeah, it's a very hard call.
And you as a coach know after it happens, after the call takes place, you know it's the right call. But in a lot of ways, sometimes it's a really nice block. That they didn't do anything wrong, but they did because where they are in the field. It's a tough one sometimes to accept as a coach.
I have to tell you, we watch a lot of video on that crackback.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we watch a lot of video.
And I think you guys ultimately get that right. It's just a rule that where you kind of do teach the guy to block like that, to hit to the whistle, to if you got a chance to hit a guy to hit.
Yeah, and we're watching more video now from the local high school games to grade ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to go more to grading this year. We're going to get guys grading other officials. We got to do that more. That we don't do that because we just think there's just 10 of us, so we can't make a mistake. But we want to grade people because when you go down south, every game you're graded, and you're talked to at halftime and at the end of the game. Your pros and your cons, and a lot of it is cons.
Yeah.
To improve yourself. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Well, Jim, thanks for coming on. I'm glad to have you on. I think that you guys are another side of the game that people forget about. I think of our 10 referees in the Sioux as great volunteers. I know that you guys get paid somewhat. I don't even think about that. Yeah. I think of you guys as great volunteers and guys that really keep our game going in the Sioux. And I'm glad that you could come on and speak on behalf of those guys, and I appreciate you coming on.
Well, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all of you guys. You guys do great service to the community. I really, really love your show. I'm so glad that it looks like we're going to have high school football. I don't know if you've heard anything about fans or everything, but it's going to be great. It's sad not to have fans. You know what's really sad is to see those guys that I've seen that couldn't finish their career. That's too bad. But anyways, my phone's starting to heat up, so we got to run. And you guys have a great evening, eh?
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for coming on.
Enjoy the rest of your summer, too, bud.
Yeah, take care.
Take care, bud.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Your phone said it's overheating.
Well, guys, what do you think? That was nice to have him on there. Good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And he always makes me chuckle, too. He's a funny guy. He's got a good sense of humor. Yeah, he really is. So it was great.
I like his honesty, and I like how candid he is with some of his answers, and I think it's really important for people to kind of hear that side of an official, right? A lot of times, I mean, Jim, there's lots of times where we've yelled and screamed at officials,
absolutely,
and they take quite a bit of abuse from us. So it's nice to hear that side of it. And I'm telling you guys, when I started reffing, I had to take a break due to work but it's something I want to do again. I absolutely loved reffing high school football. Like, it was an absolute blast. So that's something that I'm definitely going to look forward to doing come fall time.
Yeah, I agree. Dom, you got any thoughts before we change the subject quick?
No, like I said, it was really nice to see him, and I think you brought it up earlier too, Jim. Just that I don't think we talk enough about the referees and their jobs, and I think you guys can attest to this too. And when we watch games and in any of the sports, and you go back and you see replays and we're pissed off and we're saying, oh, you missed another call, and you go back and how many times are they right? Like, it's incredible. These guys and the calls they make in split seconds that are they're so accurate, and it's incredible to see sometimes. Yeah, there's going to be a mistake here and there, but you think how many tight calls they have to make and in those moments that are so, again, critical times in the game, calls that could decide a game, and most of the time they're bang on. You go back and look at the replay and say, oh my God, they were right. Like, it's so tough job.
The thing is, in the Sioux, I mean, Jimmy said it 10 times. There's only 10 refs. You know, we have so many football games in the Sioux. We have 6 Sioux minor games a weekend with on top of 2 OFC games, on top of a Sioux Steeler game. 9 games sometimes in a weekend, and these 10 guys are splitting them up and getting out there to make sure they're done. And that's why, to me, they're such important contributers to our sport. Yeah. We talked about it and we said it. Yeah, they get paid, but they're not getting paid enough to make it worth their while. They're not there for money. They're doing it because they love the sport. And I think that's what we got to appreciate about those guys.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like you said, like with it's a dying breed, it seems like right now. So imagine these guys, like, they probably feel pressure to say, like, I don't think I can quit yet. Like, there's nobody out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there might be that internal pressure amongst, again, like they said, with themselves to say, you know what, there's nobody else to do this. I feel like I have to.
I'll guarantee you they feel pressure. I mean, some of them are. We got guys reffing that are over 70 years old in our city now. I'm sure they would like to do the occasional game and not have to be out there all weekend, but they have no choice. There's no games if they don't come out there. So,
it looks like Bono's going to be the big guy then. You better step up, Bono, and get those games in.
That's a scary thought for the city.
Jim, actually, one of the very few compliments Jim Monico ever threw my way was he said I had. He actually told me I did a decent job when I reffed. He said I did a good job, and I think you said I had the right personality for it or something.
You do, Bono, because you could talk to you, and you've always been like that, though. You're a guy that you could talk to, and to me, that's really important as a ref. You got to be. There's questions out there, and we talked about this. There's so many rules in Canadian football. There's going to be questions, and you got to. Yeah. I think you got to answer a question when a coach has a question. And Dom, I know you think the same thing as a coach. If you have a question, all you want is an answer. It could be a quick answer, but just give me an answer. I don't think that's much to ask as a coach.
So Dom, what I wanted to ask you too, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but and this is kind of what I did as a ref, and I kind of did get it from Jim a little bit. And I've told Jim this. Listen, if I could miss a call. I could absolutely butcher a call. And if I butcher a call, I'm going to feel bad, and I know I screwed up a call. I actually did it in a playoff game with the senior team when St. Mary's was playing the Dun, I believe it was, and I blew the whistle too early, and there was a big play, and it was a terrible call. So I went over to Jim and said, "Listen, I screwed up. I messed up that call. I blew it." And then I was going to take whatever he had to say to me because I knew I screwed up. But then after I did that, instead of me getting chirped by the fans and chirped by the coaches, it was almost like it was over and done with, and because what else could they really say to me at that point? From a hockey coach and from a coach from your perspective, do you actually appreciate it when a ref comes up and talks to you, or does that just make you more mad?
And again, you guys know me well enough that I can talk, and I like to have that banter, like we said before, and I like to have somebody give me that opportunity to speak sometimes, not all the time, because I know sometimes you get heated, and it's probably better if I do walk away from a situation. But I know there's been times many times, and I don't want to hear a word from you. I'm not listening to you, and it's right away. Like, so it goes from 0 to 100. That's the expectation. It's my way or the highway, and that for me, when a referee starts off on that foot with any coach, I feel like you're in for a tough night, and it doesn't help him because he's got me on my again. I'm on edge right away. So again, if I say something and I'm not supposed to, come over and tell me, like listen, Dom, you got to do this. You need to chill it out a bit. Next time, I'm not going to be so lean. Whatever it is, but it's got to be. I just love to hear the talk, though. I do. It's the communication's massive, whether it's players or coaches. If you give me that one right in the face, like I'm not listening, I'm not doing.
I think you just got to be a nice person, right? Like I think you just got to treat the coach with respect, and the coach in the same term has to treat the ref with respect, right? Like if you're yelling, like Bono, maybe 20 years ago, if you had missed that call, and I remember the call you're talking about. I think we scored like 2 plays later. I know it didn't end up mattering, but maybe 20 years earlier, if you came over and told me that, maybe I wouldn't have wanted to hear it. You know what I mean? Like you change, and coaches change in their life too. So,
but
you were very nice about it. You were very professional about it, and you know, I'd be a fool to not accept what you're talking about. But it's just because you treated the situation with respect, right? And I think that's all that matters.
And the other thing too is I've been on the other side of it, so I know how much time and effort coaches put in, right? And I know how much work we put in, and I know how bad we want to win. So as an official, and this is just me speaking, knowing that I could impact that in a negative way and have, that really bothered me, right? That sticks with me. So you want to make sure you do the best job because you know how much work these coaches have put in, right?
Absolutely. And Jimmy said that several times too, right? He knows the work because he's done it, right? So it's nice. It's nice to see.
One more thing, Dom, quickly about hockey. The referee that I couldn't stand getting mad at the most was Bill Johnson, because you would sit there and you know that you're right on a call. You could swear you're right. And then Johnson, who's amazing at this, Johnson would always come over and explain his calls. But the damn guy is so smart, he would be like, listen, on page 248 of the rule book, section 36-12, this is the rule. And then he recites the damn rule to you, so you can't even question him anymore.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, that's right.
So, guys, before we go, the hot button topic right now in the sports world, I guess, is the expansion draft. In the NHL, the teams had to present their lists of protected players. So a couple trades going on that day. Obviously, the big story is Carey Price being available to the Seattle Kraken. What do you guys think is going to happen there?
I think I've had some time to think about it. There is the view about him, and again, he finished off with a great playoff. I think over the last few seasons, he's been okay. Hasn't been great. There's been a few regular seasons where he's just been he's been a very average goaltender. But again, this playoff kind of proved that he's still got some game. We know that, but it really is about the number, and the number is huge. The 10.5, 10.8, whatever it is. And I think hockey's starting to realize it more and more. It really isn't about the player. I think it really is. It comes down to the number. And I look at Carey Price. He's 33, been a little more injury prone. As much as it is appealing to Seattle, and again, somebody had said earlier about his wife being from there, and he's a Western Hockey League boy. There are some things that may have you thinking that, you know what, it might be a good thing. And again, how good he is, and he could be a face of the franchise. I just feel like it's such a big risk, and the number is so big that as much as they would love to, I think they err on the side of caution, and it's never a bad thing to have some money right, in a cap world and try to figure it out. Maybe there's some good young guys still out there that that's the Kakkonen guy, and I think Drija. There's some good goaltenders that are still available. So I'm at a point where it is. I'm sure these guys are going through every scenario they can think of, saying, you know what, should we, can we, how are we going to pull this off? Should we do it? And I'm sure there's a lot of back and forth in terms of what the best route to take is in the Carey Price. But I think at the end of the day, they don't, and they move forward. There are some other guys out there, obviously not goaltenders, like I said, but players that they can maybe look towards. But I think at the end of the day, Price ends up not being taken in that draft. That's just my view.
No, staying on the topic, and so if Bono comes back on, I'll get his opinion. Staying on that topic, what do you think Montreal's deal is there? Do you think they're kind of calling their bluff? They want they want to keep Jake Allen, and they're calling their bluff and say, here, take this contract if you want it? Or do you think they genuinely want Price gone? Like, what do you think they're thinking there?
I think it's a bit of, like, for me, I think it's a bit of, there's some gamesmanship going on there. I believe there's something going on there, and they're waiting for somebody to call their bluff and see if they're going to really actually maybe pull the trigger and decide to take Carey Price. But like I said, I don't think, at the end of the day, I think Seattle decides not to, and they look elsewhere. But like, you're right. Like, I think Bergevin is really kind of dangling that carrot to see what happens in terms of that. I don't think they feel that Jake Allen is there. Jake Allen's an excellent goaltender, but obviously he's not. I don't think they're saying, well, he's our guy, and Carey Price is expendable, even though he makes the large contract that he does have. And like I already said before, 10.5, I think it's just too much for an expansion team to kind of latch on to early on.
Bono, circling back with you to the two questions. Do you think they take him? What's your feel on that? And what do you think Montreal's doing by leaving him exposed?
Yeah, I think Marc Bergeron is hoping that Montreal or that Price gets taken. I think this is his get-out-of-jail-free card. You know, if Marc Bergeron tried trading Carey Price, there'd be an outcry in the city. If he tried moving Carey Price, there'd be an outcry. You know, yeah, Price lit it up in the playoffs, but let's be serious. He's been hurt the last few years. He's got 5 years left on his deal. 5 years at $10.5 million. That's going to be a bad contract in 3 years, right? Because who knows if his body will be able to hold up. Yeah. I don't think the Kraken take him. There's I can't think of who the two goalies are right now, but Washington has a young goalie who's, you know, a real good player.
Kakin and Major from Florida.
That's right. Yeah, there's a couple good goalies out there. Yeah. You know what? I actually, it's no secret I'm not a huge Montreal fan. I hope they don't take Carey Price and leave Montreal stuck with that contract. Because can you imagine what Montreal would do with 10.5 extra million on top of the already like 20 million they have in cap space? I mean, they have so much they can do. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think it's a tough choice for Ron Francis, but I think he passes.
Devil's advocate here, though, guys. You know, everyone knows I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. They haven't had a good goalie in I don't know how long. It's kind of he'd be a tough guy to replace, right? Let's be honest here, right? He'd be a tough guy to replace. Am I not right?
Yeah, Jim, you said it too, though. You know, you said it pre-show. What does Carey Price do? He'll put bums in the seats, and he'll sell a heck of a lot of jerseys. Yeah. Because Montreal fans will buy Price jerseys. Yeah. Price is going to come out of this looking good no matter what. So, you know, if there's Seattle Kraken jerseys out there, I bet you a lot of Montreal fans are going to buy those jerseys. And so will the Seattle fans, right? It kind of reminds me of the Marc-Andre Fleury, Matt Murray situation from Pittsburgh, you know, a few years back. Everyone kind of thought that Marc-Andre Fleury's career was on the downward spiral, and he almost used this as motivation. And look at him; he's still one of the best goalies in the league. You know, five years later. So that's kind of
and Murray isn't. So
you're right. Yeah.
You know, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's a big contract. I think that Bergeron probably somewhat wants it to be gone. Probably, maybe doesn't. It's just I just know how hard it is as a fan of a team that doesn't have good goaltending. How hard it is to replace that guy. One thing I'll say though, guys, you know, I'm a big Twitter guy. I go on Twitter all the time, read some threads. One thing I will say now, I don't know how much attention you guys pay to social media. It is an impossible job to be a NHL GM now. Everything that happens, you get overanalyzed, scrutinized. It is so hard now. The fan bases hate everything their own teams do. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're on the hot seat a lot. You know what? For the money these guys do make as general managers, you know what? Put under a lot of stress for those situations. I think they know what they're getting into when they get these jobs now. You would think they would anyways. And it's tough. I don't think some of the backlash when things go wrong is all warranted, but I think these guys know realizing nowadays with social media that, you know what, every decision is under the microscope. But it's really tough. Like you said, it's you could look, like I said, when we talk about duds and dinos, Jim, you can go from one day making a wonderful choice and you're having your hometown crowd say, you know what, our GM is doing an amazing job, and within a week or two, something, whatever. It changes quick, and people can turn on a dime.
Yeah, I saw one thing today before I hand it over to you, Bono. I saw one thing today. Someone tweeted that a source told them that the Oilers were interested in Ovechkin, and then the first 8 or 9 comments were how they have bigger needs and all that. It's a waste of money and it's craziness. No, is that not crazy?
It is crazy.
I completely agree. You know what, guys? Oh, sorry. Unfortunately, I got to run, but appreciate you guys having me on here today. And you know what? There's so much more that we could talk about too, guys. Propov coming out today. I think that's a big story. I think that Kyle Dubas trading for Jarrett McCann was absolutely genius, for a variety of reasons. There's lots more we could talk about, but that's all stuff we could do for another day. But thanks, guys, and we'll definitely chat next week.
It's funny, though, they trade for McCann. They're a team that has traditionally struggled in the playoffs, and McCann has never scored a playoff goal in 12 games. It's kind of funny, but I mean,
true.
We'll all go. We'll all let you. We'll go too, Dom. And thanks, everyone, for listening in. Thanks, guys, for joining in, and we'll see you soon. See you guys.
Have a good night, guys.